Hello, everybody. This is Ni Amakwe, the co-founder of Certified Africa, and today I'm here to discuss a very sensitive but very important topic. About the continent of Africa, and of course, speak more specifically to Ghana, my beloved country in Africa, where I am from. And this subject is a little touchy because a lot of us don't like to, talk about it because it puts you in a certain position where it appears you're trying to, to look down or to be different in a certain way that people don't take lightly at all. But I feel it's an issue, as a subject that we have to actually discuss. Now, the subject I'm talking about has to do with, of course, the opportunities in Africa, in Ghana specifically, and how Ghanaians must begin to relook at that or at those opportunities, because that is very crucial. Now, because when you look at the entire country, now I've lived in Ghana literally my entire other opportunities of the world, of course, like the United States of America. So at least I have both. Share it's having experienced two wealth and being able to share experience with other people, although, like I said, it's a little touchy-feely, but it's something we have to touch on, we have to hit and talk about, because it's very important, because at the end of the day, it affects us as a people and as a continent in our development. Now, when you look at the idea of travel, okay, in Africa, and living in Africa for a very long time, the reality is that a lot of people, young people, and sometimes older people, resort to thinking that all the solutions to our problems lies outside of our continent or outside of our country. That's a reality. Sometimes we don't speak it out, but that's how we kind of think, because when you see a few people that have been out and it looks like, it appears that things are actually going well for them, then you're tempted to right away think that it's very difficult to make it at this spot. So it closes your eyes and your judgment, your mind's eye, to seeing what is around you, the amazing things that is around you. But what people don't actually realize, that a lot of people that make it out, what happens is that they relook back inside and they are able to create real wealth from within. Now, when you look at, of course, men who have gone out to struggle, there are a lot of famous ones in the country, and some we don't hear of. I mean, as popular as possible. But then they go out, they make some money, but then they eventually relook inside. They don't look outside, they look inside to identify what is there, what they could find from where they left to build something. Now, the question is, if somebody goes outside and they relook inside to find how they can build, and eventually they use that same place to build, then why should somebody inside not focus on the inside and figure out how they can make it work right from the inside? Because eventually the solution kind of lies there. Because if I go out and I'm able to come back and find a solution there, then why can't you find it there? But then, of course, we have some excuses and some justifications. And another thing people often say is that, well, because you have made it out, you think you can actually just say, all the opportunities are here, we are not figuring it out. Some people even end up saying other people who go outside think they're lazy. But no, it's not about, I don't think it's about people thinking you're lazy or we're lazy back home or anything of that sort. It's just about we not being able to see what is around us. That it is. So I want to share a few things that I believe, based on my experience in living in Ghana for a very long time, working in Ghana, doing things in Ghana, a few things in Ghana, and moving out. And now my perspective of the whole opportunities in Africa bit, I think is very crucial. Okay. Now, when you look at the reason, being out gives an advantage to see the inside, to be able to advise. Is because now, when in Africa, we have this thing we call draft. I'm sure they have it here too. In Ghana, we call it dummy. If you're an account, you call it dummy. Now, when you look at a dummy or a draft, playing is behind. It's hard for them to fish out, to sometimes see some of the traps that they can actually set to be able to get the other person in that game. But if somebody is standing outside, no matter how inexperienced you are, sometimes you're able to stand in the outside, fish out some of these things. That's a reality, and that's a dilemma that a lot of us have on the continent. And including myself, whilst living in Ghana for the most part, it's hard to sometimes really bring your mind to seeing these opportunities whilst you're there. But the reason is that you think that your solution lies outside. Once the mind is programmed like that, it's hard for you to be able to identify what is right under your nose. And that's a problem, because you're thinking the solution lies on the outside of you, and the outside somewhere else. So you fail to look at it inside. But you see, the thing is that nobody ever said travel is good. When you travel, it gives you a diverse perspective to life. It's good. But the point is, not everybody may have the opportunity to travel at a particular point in time. So think about it. If you never get to travel in the next 40 years of your life, are you going to put your life on hold for that 40 years? When you could actually now relook at where you are, all the opportunities that you could actually pick up, and run with it. Now, the excuses that a lot of us make in Africa, in our countries, why we're not able to take advantage of the things around us is the fact that, well, there are no opportunities here. I've had times, and I've also, at some of my life, I've had issues I can't remember, but so I may have said opportunities in Ghana. Reality stand today, there are opportunities in Africa. There's so much in Ghana. Because once you begin to understand that problems are opportunities, and you have to shift your mind from necessarily seeing them as problems and seeing them as opportunities, you're not going to begin to think about how you can find solutions to them, because that's how you create wealth. There are thousands outside who have come into our continent, and they're now solving these problems that they see as opportunities, and they're making all the money and resources from it. But we sit right there, and these opportunities are under our nose, but we're not seeing them. Why? Because we've concluded in our minds that there are no opportunities here. That's the problem. Or that's the first excuse that people make. There are no opportunities here. And I made some myself, but it's not true. If you drive through Accra, if you drive through Kumasi, if you drive through some of the rural communities, because I used to do a lot of, non-profit work with my brother's foundation called Jeb Foundation. We used to do a lot of, a lot of public, service work in rural communities. So we traveled a lot to different parts of the country. Drive through these places. I'm telling you, the opportunities that you see around, the problem that you see that can't be solved by us, be able to create that opportunity that we said does not exist. It's amazing. We don't see it. Why? Because our minds is constantly, on the fact that I have to go out to be able to see it. But that's wrong. What if you never make it out? Then what happens to you? Where lies the legacy? What are you going to leave behind? Because those outside are looking at the inside, and those inside are looking at the outside. If those inside are not able to go to the outside, then that becomes a problem. And the continent cannot develop in that way. And you cannot build wealth for your family and society. That's the reality. So the first excuse being opportunities is not true. Trust me, the opportunities, if you want to be real to yourself, the opportunities are everywhere around you. So anybody who ever opens their mouth and lives on a continent, in Ghana and anywhere, and said there are no opportunities in Ghana, no opportunities in Sierra Leone, in Gambia, in Senegal, that's not true, because they are there. Every single problem you can identify, when you step out of your door in Ghana, I'm telling you, it's full of opportunities everywhere. And some people find it hard to, maybe they feel like I'm coming down because I went to school to be an engineer. Once I don't get a job as an engineer, I can't go into farming. I can't go into sanitation. So you're thinking about what you went to school for, but that's another wrong notion. Why people make excuses why there are no opportunities? Because they think they qualify for something and they can look at other things. Opportunity doesn't work like that. It's all around you, but you have to be calm down. You have to be humble to be able to tackle these things. So it's there. That excuse is invalid. Now, the second excuse that we often make on the continent, in Africa, in Ghana, including myself before, is the fact that there's no funding. That is major. So those who say there are no opportunities, once you identify opportunities and show them that, look, the opportunities all around you. All around you. Go to the villages. There's so many opportunities that you can do, that you can capitalize on. But you said there's no opportunity. One that, hey, look at opportunity right here. It's staring at you in the face every single day you wake up from bed. Then they tell you, well, where do I get money to be able to do it? How do I get funding? That's huge. That's the second excuse we make in Africa. Why we think it's only when you make it out that you can be able to do something. That's a wrong notion. I mean, it took me, I had to go out to be able to do that. But you see, that the point I'm trying to make here is that, I'm not saying don't go out, but the point I'm trying to make here is that my entire life, up until close to 30, I had to make it out at that time, for whatever reason, to be able to identify what was under my nose all this while. Think about it. What if beyond 30? What if it takes you up to 40 to be able to make it out and see what's under your nose? Why don't you now begin to humble yourself and begin to think? Within here, people have made millions, have become millionaires right here without going anywhere. What can I also do? What can I look at? It's a lady who works in sanitation. She sat down. She's not gone anywhere. She figured out sanitation is a big problem, what we call bola in Ghana. How can I solve a problem like that to be able to create wealth? And she started a sanitation program, a project that has grown huge. And today she's doing good for herself and her family. You can do something. You have to take away the excuses, the fact that there are no opportunities, the fact that there's no funding, and begin to move. That's the two excuses that people usually make. Those who say there are no opportunities, those who say there are opportunities, but we don't have funding to do it. And I'll show you how you can overcome these two. For the opportunities piece, it's all around you. You don't need anybody to actually tell you that opportunities are all around you. But the funding piece that people get excuse, will break that down. Now, what is the problem in all these situations? What is the problem? There are a few problems that I like to identify and talk about. The problem here with people, including myself at the time, is that we lack creativity and innovation. That's the hard truth. Sometimes the truth is hard to, put out. It's hard, but reality. Creativity and innovation. Because think about it. When you wake up in the morning in a place like Ghana, where there's so many problems, anywhere in the world, where people have identified those problems and thought about ways they could solve them. That's a creativity. So now when we see a problem in Africa, we are not willing to sit down and think about how we could create something that can solve that problem. That's our problem right there. You see that in your neighborhood, the person that distributes bread comes from very far away to come and distribute bread in your neighborhood. Now, your problem is that you fail to sit down and think that, oh, my people here like bread a lot. How can I sit down and create something where I can produce bread right here so I can distribute to them because they're right under my nose? That's a creativity piece. It's not offensive to talk about creativity and innovation. No, it's something that the world is constantly doing, changing. People are creating things. And in our part of the world, what we fail to do, including myself, is that we fail to be creative. And that's our problem right there. And that problem eventually leads to us saying there are no opportunities, or we don't have funding to fund the things that. But you see, if we can sit down, give ourselves time to think about the problems, that in my neighborhood, there are no AYZ. In my country, there are no AYZ. We don't have too many of them. In the villages, you've taken the time to travel. You see other places that is not so developed like the capital. What is here that they are lacking that I can bring to them, that can help them, and at the same time help myself? You sit down, you think, creativity and innovation, come up with things, new ideas of how you can solve those problems. And as you solve them, I bet you that says right there staring at you. Now, the second problem that we have is we have a problem-solving mentality, non-problem solving mentality. We're quick to run away from a problem. We're not, it comes from some education system and all of that, because we're not to solve problems. That's another issue. We have to be able to solve problems. Run away from problems rather than tackle them heads on. So young man would rather get a job which looks secure because they feel like they don't have to apply much rigor to be able to solve a problem in order for them to take the lead. And so they leave it. They leave it. We don't like to solve problems. Now, my brother who runs Donation, a non-profit organization in Ghana, a village. There were a lot of things that the students, and even there are things that back home he had access to that these people did not have access to. That was a friend, in a missionary way. And he identified these. Now, when he quickly thought about how he can be able to solve that problem, because I find a lot of things here where capital, but way up in the village there, they lack these same things that we don't do anything with here. How can I solve their problem? He began to think. He said, well, let me pick up these things. Let me go to people who have these things that these guys need, and let me go give these things to them. So you see, he saw a problem and lived on with his life. But he thought, let me sit down and think about how I can solve that problem. And how he could solve that problem was go to people where he was who have those things that he could take to these guys. And that was it. An NGO was that. Now. That's what I'm talking about. The problem solve mentality. That in Africa, when we begin to develop that mentality and do away with that problem where we don't like to move into solving anything, we cannot make progress. And we always look on the outside as our solution. When we don't get a chance to make it outside, then we're broken. There's nothing more for us. Till you make it out, there's so much around you can capitalize on. And don't have a problem that we've built from time. It takes a long time to be able to move away from that, where you develop a problem-solving mindset. And I remember back in school, I used to teach us, if it takes 3 boys to weed a plot of grass, how many will it take 10 boys to weed another plot of grass? We used to make fun of these things. That if the plot has already been cleared, what will the other 10 boys be cleared? But the reality is that these are things that were teaching us how to solve problems. When you identify a problem, how can you solve it? How can I resolve this problem of people who have to travel long miles to get water to drink? How can I solve that problem? If I'm able to find a way of putting resources together to build one borehole over there, and everybody pays even a cedi for it, or 20 pesos, 20 pesos for it, or 50 pesos for it, they can afford it. But at the end of the day, you've but at the same time, it's going to create resource for you and your generations with time. The problem-solving mindset, we don't have it, and that's a problem that stops us from being able to identify and see the opportunities in our continent and capitalize upon it. The third problem that I realized was lack of collaboration and partnership, and this is a problem with Black people all over the world, not just in Africa, in Ghana. Lack of collaboration among ourselves, because you see, with that type of problem or behavior where we can't collaborate, we can smile at each other, we can be nice at each other. Africa, we are very friendly. We can enjoy, have fun and all of that. But when it comes to collaborating to build something, it's very hard to do for us. Partnership. 3 people in the neighborhood come together and say, look, this is a major problem in the neighborhood. How can we solve it? Walk long journey to buy food. How can we solve that problem? I can't solve it alone because I don't have resource. How can I partner with 3 other people that may have the resource, that have the idea, and let's build that? Partnership and collaboration, that's a problem. When we begin to address the problem on the continent in Africa, our minds as individuals, we will no longer begin to look in the outside, we'll begin to look in the inside, that who around me can come up with some solution. And of course, it's very important, the kind of people you move around. If you run around with losers, you end up a loser. Think about people who could be useful to you, and you can be useful to them. That's partnership, collaboration. Come together. If you can't do it on your own, come together with other people. It's a problem that we have on the continent, why we think that there are no opportunities there, and we look on the outside. And most of us wait until we get out before we begin to see and do what is right. But those who are not able to do that, to make it up, then that becomes a problem. Their whole generation, that's a big deal for them. Somebody breaks that barrier. We want to be able to change that now. Africans can solve their own problems if they begin to do away with these have become hindrances for them. If we begin to do that, I'm telling you, we'll make a lot of progress. So much progress than we could ever imagine. The next thing that is a problem to this situation is starting small and building up. To do something big. When you tell a young man in Africa, including myself, in Ghana, when I lived in Ghana, and of course I'm still Ghana boy back and forth. When you tell me at a time, let me use myself so I'm not being offensive to anybody. When you tell me, oh, look at this problem right here. You know, you can start by just selling these two things, or planting in your backyard, or doing AYZ, getting somebody to sell pure water for you. And then with time, of course, you start making 5 cedis a day, 10 cedis a day. But with time, you're going to start making 20,000, 30,000, something. This somebody, including myself, is going to walk away. Because you know what? They're not willing to start with 5 cedis or 10 cedi profit. They're looking for something that they think they can make 10,000 from the start. With that mindset, that becomes a hindrance to you being able to see anything around you, to be able to take action. See, when it comes to the part I talked about, the excuses that we make, which is the funding piece, because you're thinking that you need a profit of 10,000 from whatever thing you want to get involved with, it means that you need a bigger capital to be able to start. How can you get that? You cannot get that. But when you think about finding somebody in your neighborhood who has no job, and you feel like you have 20 cities to be able to start getting them to go sell water to other people who need it. You're solving a problem with very little. So the idea of being able to start small has helped you to be able to solve a problem or dismantle the excuse of funding right there and then. Because you're willing to start small. That with a change that you have, everybody, I'm telling you, has what it takes to start anything they want to start. Opportunities and funding excuses are really invalid. Because when you think about starting small and building up from there, so this moves to 10, from 10 it moves to 20, from 20 it moves to 30, from 30 it moves to 40, then you're climbing. By the time you realize you've built an empire. And when you set things like that, the most even begins to work for you. Because other opportunities begin to spring up and you begin to adapt. That's the reality. That's the reality. I'm telling you, that's the reality. But a lot of people don't see it that way. And it becomes offensive when you tell them that stop necessarily looking from the outside and from the inside and see what you can find right there and then. I never tell people not to travel because, like I said, travel is good. Till then, there's so much around you that you can do to build yourself in the next generation. I'm telling you, every single day I regret that the things that I know today, that I see today, I couldn't bring myself to see them. But because nobody talks about it, it's a touch when you tell somebody that they think you're against them. Why should you tell me not to travel? Why? No. That becomes a problem. So they're not able to come to terms to really look at the situation right. And that's problematic. You see, if you're in that situation, I'm telling you, you better change. There's so much around that you could do, you could solve. Think about it. So the problem I just talked about was starting small and building up from there. That could be a huge problem for you. Why you be in a situation where you think your solution lies from the outside. And the last problem that I fished out was the employee mindset rather than entrepreneur mindset. We're trained right from school, and that's why our schooling system is a problem. And Certified Africa Foundation, we're about to have a move towards psyching people out for entrepreneurship right at the younger stage through the colleges. Because once you're hardened and you come out of the college, you have the I deserve a job mentality, where you feel like you deserve a job because you have a degree. There are millions of people who came before you who have degrees that didn't have jobs. It's unfair to them that you come out and you have a job and they don't. So in the first place, your excuse is not acceptable. But you see, when we do away with the employee mindset, we'll no longer be fighting for jobs. We'll be fighting for, how I can partner with somebody, how I can collaborate with somebody, who can I find to collaborate? What business can I open? Who can I go to for funding? Who can I connect with? That's what we'll be fighting for, and not fight to get jobs as employees. That's problematic. We'll change the fight. We'll change the game. When we come out of school with a different mindset, when you're coming out of the university and the mindset you have is that, well, this thing I've learned, how can I channel that to be able to build something? Who do I need to be able to partner with to be able to build that something? You start small. When it takes you 5, 10 years to work for somebody else's dream as a job and they pay you, and at the end of that 10 years, there will be nothing to show for. How about take those 10 years to build something for yourself? Find other people that share similar ideas and build with them. Some may have funding, they don't have the idea. Collaborate with, build that dream. If it takes you 5 years before you solidify, at least you have the next 5 years having something that belongs to you that nobody can ever take away from you, and you can leave to the next generation. That's the goal. When Africa will begin to look at things like that, I'm telling you, we'll make a lot of progress, and we didn't need anybody to do that. And you see, other people are taking the things that are around us, the problems we find around us on the continent, they're taking it and they're solving them. And they're creating wealth for their generation. Do you know the amount of money foreigners take out of the continent every single year to take care of their families outside of the continent? And we sit on the continent and we think there are no jobs, there are no opportunities. No jobs, there are no opportunities. They are there. We don't have funding to do it. The funding is there, it's right amongst us. So, with that being said, what is the solution? What solution can I suggest that can help this problem? One, when you get up in the morning, listen carefully, and you find yourself amongst a group that is saying there are no opportunities in this country, wherever you are, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Gambia, in Tanzania, in South Africa, wherever you are as a black person in Africa, in Ghana, where I come from, you wake up in the morning and ever find yourself saying that there are no here, walk out that door. Find somewhere quiet, sit down and think that what problem exactly have I ever, be honest with yourself, what problem have I seen around me? I'm telling you, when you sit down and think, and that's our problem, I don't like to sit down and think that what problem can I solve? Just think about it. Write them down. Write those problems down, because that's the opportunity right there we're figuring out. Because don't look at the opportunity as something glamorous, like how somebody gives you a letter for a job and you think that's the opportunity. No. Think about all the problems you see around you. Some of them may sound silly, crazy, as we may say, stupid, as we may say. They may sound so crazy. Who does that? Think about it. Think about very things that people will not want to get their hands involved with. Write them down. You're creating the opportunity right here. When you've written these things down, it will be a lot. I'm telling you, it will be a lot. You have different things to implement at different times, but you can start with something. When you figure out the one amongst those that you've written, you can begin. That, oh, this is a serious problem. I think I really solved this problem. Let me give you an example. For instance, my senior brother recently started doing something which somebody would consider silly. He started distributing kenke, fanti kenke. We call it fanti kenke in Ghana. Now it came about because he realized he had a chance to give certain people some kenke, and they thought the kenke was so nice. And they always go out to different places to find good kenke, but they don't really get good kenke. And it's like, whoa, if you like this kenke, it means that other people actually like this kenke. So what he started getting a lady who was very good at preparing that kenke and did that for him. I'm preparing the kenke, so he'll start distributing to these people. So he identified the problem around him. And what he did was, he decided to put a little money into it. Now, it takes me to the second stage. Sometimes, when you've figured out what the problems are, now the second excuse I talked about, I don't have money. I'm giving you the solutions out here. I don't have money to do this. There's no funding to solve this kinky problem that people have in my neighborhood, that they have to go somewhere else to go buy. Talk to somebody. So my brother talks to me. He talks to my dad. He talks to whoever he could talk to. He talked to some guys that were close to him. One, for the resource. To say, well, I have the idea, I have the lady that can prepare the kinky. Well, I have some customers too. What can you bring on board? You have the money. Why don't you bring the money? We have an agreement, a negotiation. We cook the kinky, we distribute the kinky. Somebody does the distribution. You guys can do the walking. You could go the kinky. Somebody brings the money. I bring the idea, the main orchestrator, I put it together. You do the distribution, you bring the money. We have a kinky distribution business. Right. So when you find the plan, which is the opportunity right there, write them down. As many as they are, you can start executing one at a time. Any opportunity, just write it down. Or the problem, write it down. Find how you can solve it. If the solution needs funding, like we always make an excuse, find who has the funding, talk to them. I'm telling you, when you talk to 10 people, you'll find one that will buy into that idea. If it takes you 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month to do it, it is, I'm telling you, then sit down now and do nothing. Thinking of doing something that will take you a long time to be able to build anything for yourself in the next generation. And you see, what I'm showing you now, the beauty of it is that when you're able to conquer one thing, you develop a different mindset of problems. When you walk around, you begin to see everything as a problem, how you can solve it. You begin to see solutions in everything. And that one thing that you solve will take you to the next one, and that's how success is built. That's how wealth is built. And with time, as you begin to solve all these little problems, you begin to solve bigger problems. People can now trust you with big things. I'm telling you, by the time you realize you're sitting where you are, you built a lot of wealth. That's your solution right there. Identify the problem. Any cumbersome thing. Start small. The beauty of starting small is that it builds a certain discipline in you. Don't take it for granted. It builds that discipline in you. Something in you begins to naturally find solutions for problems. And that's how you start solving problems. Solving small problems. Then you realize you're solving bigger problems. And by the time you're in your 30s, 40s, you've created massive wealth that you can now have greater impact in the society you live in. So my fellow Ghanaians, my fellow friends and loved ones, my fellow Africans, our solutions are right under our nose. We just have to develop the right attitudes to be able to identify them and solve them. And as we solve these problems, we create wealth for ourselves, our societies, and our next generation. It's not lying in the outside. I'm not saying do not travel. When you have the chance, you can travel. Travel opens your eyes. But until then, there's so much around you could do if you really think about it carefully. No offense to anybody. But your solution success is right at the corner you are. I'm telling you. And my general overseer, Pastor Mensa Otava, will tell you that opportunity does not come clothed in nice, outfit. It does not come clothed nicely and beautifully. So, I could have a good opportunity right there. No. It comes in this, guys. It looks crazy. It looks like the dirty gutter in your neighborhood. It looks like the streets that nobody wants in your neighborhood. It looks like that abandoned lot or plot in your neighborhood that nobody wants. It looks like that business that looks like it's for people who dirty things. No. That's the opportunity right there. That you start from there and it builds the mental attitude to be able to build bigger things or what you call more professional things. If all our students coming out of the tertiary institutions think like that, I'm telling you, we'll make a lot of progress. We won't have to ever depend on to find solutions because the solutions are right there. I love much, and that's why I do this. Got you. Look around you and see what you can solve. And let's keep solving because that's where our solutions to our success lies. All right. So I don't know if questions from anybody, but of course, I'm live on YouTube. Let me see if I have any. Okay. All right, so this is where I bring it to a close. I hope this blesses somebody. I hope this is useful and helpful to somebody on the continent, and in fact outside of the continent. Till next time, see you. This has been Certified Africa. Our focus is the continent, is the black man on the continent and outside the continent, working together to build the continent and, of course, build ourselves as well. You can check us out on www.certifiedafrica.com. It's right on your screen. You can also follow us on Certified Africa on all platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can check us out from there, or we'll bring you good content. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because we're going to be bringing you a lot of information, good information that can help you as you build on your journey. We love you. You can check out our online store as well. If you're in the diaspora, check out our online store. We have we bring Africa to you right there. So you can shop and to be delivered to you. God bless you.